Today we are privileged to have with us a gentleman who has been supporting our school for a long time. His kids are here. Pastor Gary Vaughan from Nansemond River Baptist Church is here today. If you bring the message, so we're excited about that. And of course, next week we look forward to hearing from our very own with the testimonies from the homecoming court, or the girls on the homecoming court. So we're looking forward to that as well. Before we turn it back over to the praise team to sing one more time, let's open up with a word of prayer. Let's pray. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you so much for this day. Thank you for the excitement that comes this time of year as we look forward to homecoming and all the festivities that happens with that. But Lord, right now, I pray that you focus our hearts and minds on your message. Thank you for the beautiful song already today, and I pray that you'll continue to focus our hearts towards you so that we can indeed say it is well with our soul. As we pray in your name, amen.
All right, why don't you guys stand and join with us? One of the reasons we can say it is well is because our souls have been saved, or at least we have the opportunity to turn and save our souls through Jesus Christ, through faith. So let's sing this song together. Got above. Got above the world in motion. Got above all my hopes and fears. I don't care what the world throws at me now. I'm gonna be alright. Hear the sound. Hear the sound of the generations making loud the freedom song. All in all, that the world would know your name. It's gonna be alright, 'cause I know my God saved the day, and I know His word never fails, and I know my God made a way for me.
Good morning, guys. I'm glad to be at GCA today. I love coming here. I want to take just a couple minutes and do a couple things. First and foremost, I love GCA. I love this school. I'm so glad to have been able to, for my kids to come to GCA for so many years. And I want to take just a couple minutes and do something special because I have the microphone. I just want to say that I'm so blessed to be the dad of Ty and Trip. Tybo, you're the man. I'm so excited about Spirit Week next week. Hey, when your dad comes to speak in chapel, he can say what he wants until then it's not right. But I'm so glad for Spirit Week next week. If I'd have known we had that announcement, I would have had a slideshow of the last, I don't know, 8 or 10 years or however. Ty's in 7th grade, so the last 10 years of Spirit Week pictures, and it's a lot of fun. I love that stuff as a dad. I love painting faces and coming up with cool costumes and stuff like that. And Stacy does a great job with all that stuff. It's a lot of fun. So I love Ty's spirit and everything he does in life. And Ty, I'm super proud to be your dad. I also want to say to Kaylee, you did a great job. Kaylee goes to my church and she serves regularly at our church. And I'm so thankful that she allows the Lord to use her not only in church, but also here in our school. God gave you a beautiful voice. Never hesitate to use it to make much of him, and I'm super proud of you. And also I want to say congratulations to those of you who were selected to homecoming court. But I also want to say a big congratulations to my wonderful niece, Bailey. Where's Bailey? Yeah, she has a big shout out to Lucy. For those of you who y'all call her Bailey, I call her Lucy. And a big shout out, a big congratulations. I can't wait for next Wednesday. I look forward to coming next Wednesday and hearing testimonies. But I wanted to take that opportunity. You know, I'm an adrenaline junkie. I've been that way a long time. I think it was, I was born that way. I love the thrill. You know, actually, I wasn't that way as a kid. At 4 years old, my sister rode her first roller coaster. She rode the Rebel Yell at King's Dominion. And this is like before, insurance and lawsuits and all this kind of stuff. My sister's 2 years older than I am. Like, she's probably that much too short to ride it. And they're like, oh yeah, let her ride. So they did. Not going to happen today. But she rode the Rebel Yell at 4 years old. I was like probably 8 or 9 before my parents convinced me to get on the Rebel Yell. And like the beach, I love the beach. I love the ocean. I love the water. I love going deep sea fishing. I just love the beach. But when I was really little, there's some pictures of me when I was like 2, 3, 4 years old. I mean, I was hanging onto my dad's leg like a little girl, and I was scared to death. But somehow after that, I learned to just absolutely love adrenaline. When I was in college, I started rock climbing. That was a lot of fun. Every Monday afternoon, we went to Great Falls, and Kevin and I would rock climb, and that was a lot of fun. I love to hunt. Man, the anticipation, I absolutely love it. I love the duck hunt. I love the deer hunt. I love the snow ski. Snow skiing from the point of like speed to the point of like the last moment of control. When the tears freeze right about here. I absolutely love that stuff. Sports. I still remember as a player the last moments before you cross the white line on the baseball field. The last moments before kickoff, I can still remember the taste of the mouthpiece. I can still remember the smell of the grass. I can still remember the excitement and the anticipation in playing football. And that continues now as a coach. Even last year coaching a 12U team, we went to Cooperstown, and man, I was about to throw up before that first game. I'm like, this is 12-year-old baseball. Why am I so amped up about this? But I get so excited. I absolutely love it. When I was just getting out of college, me and a buddy Troy, we hiked the Appalachian Trail from where it starts in Georgia up into Franklin, North Carolina. I was gone for several weeks. Absolutely loved it. Didn't know how long I was going to be gone, and I knew that we were going to get there, and okay, that's when we're done. But I absolutely love it. In 2003, I had the opportunity to go to South Africa on a mission trip. And I've been on a lot of mission trips. I've been on a lot of stateside mission trips. I've been to Venezuela several times and taking teams there. And I got to go to Africa, and this was a really unique trip because this was like a trip that was unlike anything else I'd ever heard of or ever done. The International Mission Board wanted a team to go to do data collection in the mountains of South Africa to determine if there was enough need, enough people, and enough interest to underwrite a missionary there in Lesotho, South Africa. And so I went with a team of 4 men, and we had a missionary there in South Africa that took us up into the mountains, and we hiked into these villages. And these villages, you get there, you walk around this corner, and there's like 75 huts, and it looked like African huts like you think it was. And you go and you talk to the chief and ask permission to talk to the people and things like that. I mean, it was unbelievable. But you know, even with that, you know, okay, it's a couple weeks, and you're coming back home. You know, there's a moment where adrenaline and adventure becomes real and becomes scary. The moment where dreams and ideas become reality. It's like the moment when something goes wrong on a roller coaster that happens every now and then, and there's a breakdown on the coaster, and that's that moment where adventure and things become fear and reality. You know, when the adventure doesn't stop and your life doesn't return to normal and comfort at a manageable pace, adventure, it creeps in to safety, and it creeps into comfort, and it creeps into control. You know, some of you may be wired that adventure and pushing things to the limits that's just not you. You're always asking every question and knowing where the boundaries are and exactly how safe you're going to be and exactly how far to go out in the water, or, you know, whatever the case may be. And in life, you've got everything planned out before you go. You know, when I was in college or in high school, getting ready to go to college, my sister, she was a pre-med biology student at William & Mary, and now she is an ER doctor at Southampton Memorial. My sister's 2 years older than I am, and ever since forever, my sister, all she wanted to be was a doctor. So she went through med school, she went through college, went through med school, went through residency, and she's a doctor. You know, when I was in high school, senior year, and I was applying for college, I wanted to know what I wanted life to be. And you know, I did know this. I hated my life enough where I was that I wanted to go somewhere where I could completely start over. So I went to George Mason University. I didn't know anybody. Up there, I knew one guy. His name was Andy Cabinet. Andy was 4 years older than I was. Andy was at George Mason when I was a freshman in high school. Okay? Andy was still there when I got there in my junior year. He was that guy, okay, at George Mason University. And when you get to college, you'll know who that guy is, okay? But I went there as a pre-dental major. Why did I want to do dentistry? Well, I wanted to do something I could make a good living. My sister's going to be a doctor. My sister's going to have several zeros on the left side of the column. And I wanted a job that I could make good money in. So what's life going to be? And it took me about 6 months to realize I want no part of this. I hated biology, hated it. I loved it in high school because it was easy then. College was a little different. Wanted no part of it. But I also realized that's not really what I wanted to do with my life. And I had no clue what that was going to be. But I knew that it was something more than where I was. You know, there's a friend of mine, his name is Josiah. His wife is named Steph. And I met them about 4 years ago. You know, I've loved doing life with them each week. You know, Josiah and I play golf together. Families would go to dinner together every now and then. We serve together at church. And I met them about 4 years ago. And they began to talk about their life and what they were going to do. At that time, Josiah was a teacher at a local Christian school. And they talked about their desire to one day go on the mission field. And I listened, and man, the excitement that they shared, and how they had been to Malawi, and in those connections, they really desired, you know, one day to go on the mission field and move overseas and work a job in a country, to tell people about the hope that is in Jesus Christ. To share them the hope of the gospel, that there's a Messiah that has come to pay the penalty for our sin. And in the midst of people who look to religion in their works and the hope that they had in that which they could do, they were sharing a completely new way. And I listened to them talk. And over the years, they began to move closer and closer. And then last year they sold their house. They began to pack all that they had. They put them in 3 crates that weren't much bigger than your reach, about as wide as your wingspan, about 10 foot by 10 foot tall. Put everything they owned in those crates. And the realization that they would give up all the modern comforts of American culture. They would learn a completely new language. They would go to a new culture and share the only true hope and what their greatest need was. You know, this adventure was somebody talked about it for 4 years, and I kind of watched this process happen. But in the last 6 months, I began to see a reality. This reality, you know, they've heard about it before, but honestly, I've never known anybody personally I know people that have gone overseas. I know people, but I've never known anybody personally. I mean, this is a guy that you know, I text on a regular basis. This is a guy that, like, one of his last weekends here in the United States before he goes overseas, you know, our families are going to have dinner. That kind of person. I've never known anybody like that before. Somebody to forsake all for people who have never heard the hope that is in Jesus Christ. A couple months ago, I went to their commissioning service in Fredericksburg. And it was in Fredericksburg, and there was about 30-some people that were being commissioned. And what they were doing is they're saying, you know what? I'm going to give my life to go around the world and share hope to people that have no hope. And some of you may be sitting here thinking, Gary, God is not going to call me to be a missionary. You know what? You're probably right. But this message applies to each and every one of us. And here's why. At some point, adventure meets reality. At some point, anticipation of what's to come becomes the reality of what you're going to be. Because the anticipation and the dreams of a pre-dental student, now 20 years in ministry, that wasn't the way the plan was supposed to go. And you know what, honestly, guys? I didn't even want to do this. You know what I wanted to be? I wanted to be a high school history teacher. And I wanted to be a baseball coach. And you know what? God said, there's another opportunity, and I'll be glad to tell you that story one day. And God opened the door, and He says, follow me. But as I went through that commissioning service for my friend, I listened to David Platt share some words from Matthew chapter 4. Man, what an impact. And it's that moment where adventure meets reality. I want you to turn in your Bibles to Matthew chapter 4. We're going to look at verses 18 to 22. Matthew chapter 4, Jesus has just begun His earthly ministry. He just comes out of the wilderness where He was tempted by Satan. It says in verse 18, while walking by the Sea of Galilee, He saw 2 brothers, Simon, who was called Peter, and Andrew, his brother, casting a net to the sea, for they were fishermen. And He said to them, follow me, and I will make you fishers of men. And immediately they left their nets and they followed Him. And going on from there, He saw 2 brothers, James the son of Zebedee, and John his brother, in the boat with Zebedee their father, mending their nets, and He called them. And immediately they left their boat and their father, and they followed Him. You know, there's those moments where all the details really don't make sense. For some of you, you're seniors. You're really close to that. You may have got your acceptance letter for where you're going to school next year. You may know, but you don't know how the details are going to be. That what you think you're going to study, most people change their major an average of 7 times, so you got plenty of time to start. You don't know who your roommate's going to be. Maybe you do, but most people change their roommates about as often as they change their majors. What's life really going to be like when you get there? How's it really going to be when you're there and you're on your own, or whatever the case may be? Teachers, Hey, you got a great job. Maybe you think it's a great job, maybe you don't know, leave that up to you. You got a great opportunity. You're here, this is where you are. What happens when God says, what's next? Jesus comes to these people and he says, follow me. See, so many people, I want to focus on those two words. See, because so many people, when they hear that, they focus on the word follow. And as followers of Christ, we focus on the word follow. What does it mean to follow Jesus? That which I need to do or be because of my decision. I've made a decision to follow Jesus, so what do I need to do? See, we live in a culture of religion that going through the motions. Is that what Jesus meant by being a follower of Jesus? See, even this morning, between 11:45 and 12:25 or something like that on Wednesday, I get it. You come in here every single week. You know, some of you are Christian school just because Mom and Dad said this is where I want you to go to school. Some of you are here because you really like it here, and this is where your friends are. But it doesn't, regardless of whether you're a Christian school or public school or private school, it doesn't matter. We all go through the motions. Teachers, we go through the motions. We get up because today's, day number 99 of 180 or however many days you go to school. I don't even know what day, but you go and you check that off because you're trying to get to the next day and the next day. And we constantly live in waiting for the next moment because we're looking for a destination. We forget that the journey is a big part of it. Because you're thinking, man, if I can just get to 16, man, if I can get to 18, man, if I can get to college, and then you get to college, it's like, man, if I can graduate and I can get a career, man, if I can really, God, if I just knew who I was going to marry. God, if I just knew how this was going to work out. And we focus on the journey. We focus on the destination. See, 4 out of 5 Americans identify themselves as Christians, but in many cases, their beliefs and their actions are no different than the world around us. I would dare to say that 80% of this room, maybe even more, would say, yes, I'm a follower of Jesus Christ. And I would dare to say that anything close to that truly in your heart of hearts and everything you do, your lives represent that profession that you make. So what does it mean to follow Jesus? Later in chapter 7 of Matthew, Jesus expresses that many people are going to be shocked to know that they've been deceived, that the pathway is narrow and that few are going to find it. I think the struggle is that we focus on follow more than the person that they're following. And so today, I want to focus on me. Who is me? Matthew spends these first 4 chapters of Matthew talking about who me is, talking about the glorious picture of Christ. In chapter 1, verse 1, it says, the book of the genealogy of Jesus Christ, the son of David, the son of Abraham. Who is that? This is the center. Jesus is the center of all history. In chapter 1, verse 23, he goes on and he says that God in human form, Emmanuel, this is God with us. Jesus is just not some idea. Jesus is God, the God of this universe in human flesh. That's who me is. He goes on in chapter 2 and he talks about Jesus as a ruler and a shepherd. He goes on in chapter 3 and he talks about Jesus as our Savior and our King. He talks about Him as our righteous Lord. We think about righteousness as just like perfection without sin. No, righteousness is the perfect fulfillment of everything, of perfection and holiness. We think about God, we think about righteousness through our standpoint of just doing the right things. No, it's the aspect of His whole being of who God is. In chapter 4, we see Jesus going into the wilderness and facing the temptation of Satan, and that Jesus perfectly did what Adam couldn't do. As Adam fell to sin, Jesus' perfect dependence on the Father, He doesn't fail or He doesn't fall. Therefore, He can be our only sacrifice for our sin. Later in chapter 4, He calls Him the light of the world. He says, this is the way. Look to this light. That's the person Jesus is saying to follow. But so often, we just focus on the process of following and not on the me. But I want you to see today, and if you hear nothing else, hear this. That me is worth following. Jesus Christ is worth following. That is the me who's worth following. Jesus is clearly worth far more than casual church attendance. That is the me. What does it mean to follow Him? It's far more than a personal acknowledgement of His existence or a casual association. He tells them here in Matthew chapter 4, He tells them to leave their nets. They're casting their nets, and immediately they left their nets and they followed Him. They left their nets, they left their lifestyle, they left their livelihood, they left their family, they left everything about them. They left their control to follow Him. To leave behind their comfort, to leave behind their familiarity, to leave behind uncertainty, to leave behind their careers and their possessions and their family and their positions and their safety. This coming weekend, my friends, are going to get on an airplane with 8 bags, 2 children under the age of 3, 2 car seats. And they're going to fly from D.C. to Africa. And they're going to start a life there. The cause is worth it. Because all the ease that you and I do when we walk to our thermostat and we turn on our air conditioning when it's 100 degrees. They have air conditioning, but they have to have it through something called a swamp cooler. Google, it's worth it. All the comforts of life, of living, because there's people without the hope of the gospel. If they die today, they'll spend eternity in separation from their Father. See, that's real stuff. That changes adrenaline. That changes adventure. But at some point, it comes down to the fact that totally leaving everything behind and moving to something completely different. Because at this point, they're going to spend their next 18 months of their life learning a language that they can't pronounce, they can't read, they can't do anything. And they're going to begin a completely new life. Man, everybody's not called to that. But every follower of Christ is called to abandon all our dreams, our hopes, our everything, so that God uses us for His good and for His glory. See, whether your dream is an ER doctor, whether your dream is a school teacher, whether your dream is a law enforcement officer, whether your dream is an engineer, whether your dream is an iron worker, whether your dream is a consultant, whether your dream is an IT guy, whether your dream is a pastor, whether your dream is a professional baseball player, whether your dream, I don't care what your dream is. The mission doesn't change. When you and I are a follower of Christ, we don't get to pick the mission. We are a follower of Jesus Christ, and our life becomes His plan. And rules and regulations aren't enough at that point. Because what it means to follow means to abandon sin and self and to turn from that to trust Christ only. I'm not going to live according to my own life. I'm going to follow Jesus. In 1993, I came home from Christmas. I was about midway in my college years. And I just changed my major and declared as a history major. And my mom asked me what I was going to do. Like, what are you going to do with a history major? I promise you I'll have these conversations. Girls or guys that are psychology majors, I promise you, people, what are you going to do with that? You know, an econ major, what are you going to do with that? Geography major, what are you going to do with that? Political science major, what are you going to do with that? My mom asked me what I was going to do with it. And this is what I told her. I don't know, but I do know this. God is giving me the opportunity right here where I'm at, in 1993 in Northern Virginia, to invest in kids, middle school and high school students. And I want to live my life investing in teenagers. And my mom's next words out of her mouth, how does that pay the bills? Well, as you know, most school teachers aren't rolling in the money, especially if they're working in a Christian school. But this is what I do. God doesn't always call us to have all the cushions and the comforts of life and for life to be easy. Because at the end of the day, I don't care how good you are at what you do. Really what it comes down to is an eternal impact. And how God uses you and I for His good and His mission and His glory. I was reading a book by Joshua Harris. It's called Dug Down Deep. And he talks about this rite and ritual in the Amish culture. It's called Rumspringa. Maybe you know what it is, I didn't. So as I read and I Googled it and learned a little bit about it. The Amish culture is a culture of the Pennsylvania Dutch. It's a rite of passion. The Amish, they live by rules that would completely withdraw from life. They remove from culture and worldly things, and the given right to they remove from everything, and so they aren't influenced by anything in the world. Well, Rumspringa is this event where they're moving from adolescent to adulthood, where they're given the right to leave Amish culture and go into and experience anything in the culture of life that they haven't experienced. And really what they do is they make a decision, are they going to return to Amish culture and commit to that for the remainder of their life, or are they going to leave the Amish culture and be exiled from the Amish world and continue in life the way they want to. The point of this isn't the promotion of Amish culture and that we need to completely segregate from life. That's not the point of this. Here's the point. The point is, as we look and we see that what it means to remove ourselves from a culture, that's the way people view Christianity. Did you just remove yourself and isolate yourself from everything, and you don't do this, and you don't do this, and you don't do this? That's what people view Christianity as, and that is the farthest thing from the truth. If somebody says, are you religious? And here's my answer, absolutely not. I'm not religious at all. Gary, he says, well, you're a pastor. I'm not religious. Religion says I do what I do to earn my favor before God. The King of this universe, the almighty sovereign Lord of this universe, died on the cross to pay a penalty for my sin, to ransom my soul from hell, eternal separation from Him. And He's given me an opportunity to follow Him and to live my life from Him, and invited me to join in the mission of God, and invited you as a follower of Christ to join in the mission of God, so that all may know that He is an amazing God, and to point people to the one way, the only hope in life. I am a follower of Jesus Christ. He has changed my life and set my life on a course to follow Him. And if you're a follower of Jesus Christ, that's what it means to follow Him. You're following Him. You're not removing yourself from the rules of life. But He says, follow me and I will make you. In this day, first century, in Jewish culture, it was common for a disciple to seek out a rabbi to study under. Jesus comes to them and He says, follow me. Jesus chose them. He says, follow me and I'm going to make you. The God of this universe invites us to forsake all and to follow Him. He will make us what He wants us to be. He will enable us. He will enable us. He will take you and do far more with you than you can ever imagine. Do you need a plan? Absolutely. You need to apply for colleges? Absolutely. But you know what? I'm in complete trust that the sovereign God of this universe that put this universe in order, and there's a sun, and there's planets that go around, and then He figured out gravity, and He figured out the fact that the very thing you remit is the very thing that plants need, and the very thing that plants remit in oxygen is the very thing you need to breathe. I'm confident in that God, that He's going to figure out where to put you to go to school. Because where you go to school is going to impact who you know. Where you go to school is going to impact the opportunities you have. Where you go to school is going to impact the woman that you're going to marry, the man you're going to marry. You realize that before the foundation of this world, God was putting all those things in order so you at the right time would end up influenced by these people in this situation, and these people in this situation. I'm talking about following Him. as I stood there at commissioning and I listened to 30-some people share their testimony at the commissioning service of their desire to go to people who have never heard and to forsake all their comforts so that people would have hope. I was blown away by the fact there's so many people who've never heard the gospel. But this is one thing that they said. They said, I want to go so the glory of God can be known. These people were unwavering in their call for his mission. But you know what? Just as here on the Sea of Galilee, as Jesus called Peter, James, and John, there were people there that were content to hear the message, to agree, and not to follow. You know what? There's people in that room. That room is made up of just that. There's some of you that will say, I want to be a follower of Jesus Christ, and I'm going to do it. There's other of you that are hearing the message, you agree, and you can say, you know what? It's not worth it. I'm not going to follow. I'd rather chase my career. And it's okay. You know, God's going to put you in places He's going to use you. The only call is not to ministry. Your ministry as a follower of Christ, whatever you do. How are you going to live that life that God gives you? And there's some of you who are hearing this and say, you know what? That's not for me. You know what? People in the Bible do the exact same thing. There's plenty of people who heard the message and who walked away. But let's not diminish who He is and dilute what it means to follow Christ. Because there's two responses here today. For some of you, you've heard the message many times, but you've never responded to say, yes, I want that Savior. Because I'm not about following rules. I need a Savior. And maybe today, your answer is, you know what? I've heard this over and over and over and over in church and at home and at school, but you've never submitted your life to Jesus Christ, realizing that Jesus paid the penalty for your sin. Because you have two choices. You can pay it yourself, or trust Jesus, the God of this universe who came in human flesh and died on the cross, bearing the very wrath of God that you and I deserve it. And you have the option of paying for that yourself. And I only beg you, because it's not what you think it is. And hell's not even the worst part. The worst part is an eternal separation from God that you never again would have the opportunity, once you die, to live in a relationship with God who created you. So my reply to you is today, trust Jesus as your Lord and Savior. If you've never trusted Jesus, I want to be here. Take the time. I will be glad to pay for your lunch later, to eat your lunch later, or do whatever I need to do for you to have time to talk about how to know Jesus as Lord and Savior. Here's the second option, or the second response. Some of you have already done that. And God is drawing your heart to whatever He calls you to do it all for the glory of God, so that His name could be made known. And one day God's going to open up a door for you in the shipyard to be a supervisor. One day God's going to open up a door in a doctor's office for you to be a nurse. Or one day God's going to open the door as an ultrasound tech for you to do ultrasounds on moms that are coming in. Or so one day God's going to open up for you as a legal assistant. Or one day God's going to open up for you as a fireman and a guy who has a lawn care business on the side. Or one day God's going to open up for you as a school teacher to pour in the lives of students in either a private school, Christian school, or public school. For some of you, God's going to call it a ministry to give 100% of your time, that your life is underwritten so that you can spend 100% of your time making disciples and sharing the way. My challenge to you is to focus on the following of who is calling you. And that's Jesus Christ. And commit your life. Say, God, wherever you call, whatever you say, I'm yours. Use me however you want to use me. Whether it's in the clubhouse of a professional team, or whether it's a stay-at-home mom raising children, whether it's a dad who does drywall, whether it's a CEO of the largest corporation in the United States. Do it all. Follow Jesus. God, I thank you for this day. And I pray God, that you would help us and lead us to understand the fullness of what it means to follow you. God, there is so much opportunity and possibility in this room. And that is completely driven by the fact that there are young men and young women in this room, number one, that you have saved, and that you are calling for a purpose to be used all throughout this world, throughout eternity. Help them to focus on you and to follow you, to love you and live for you, and to bring you honor. God, there's others that are here that have been going through the motions, jumping through the hoops. And God, in that, I pray that those students, Lord, you are calling to trust in you as Lord and Savior. And I pray, Lord, that you would draw them to salvation today. Lord, I'm going to hang around afterwards, and I would love to talk to them. Or maybe it's the teacher that they trust, or maybe it's the friend on their baseball team or the wrestling team, or whatever the case may be. Lord, that they would pursue and talk to someone today about what it means to know you as Lord and Savior. We love you, Jesus. Let's all these things in Jesus' name.
We're going to end things a little bit differently rather than singing because Dylan just rang. We're going to let you guys go ahead and go out. But please take the opportunity. If God's speaking to your heart, don't leave here without responding. You guys are dismissed.